All right, ready to dive into something fun. We're tackling girlfriend getaways this time. Think spa days, weekend trips, all those times you escape with your friends just to relax. We all know they're a good time, but we wanted to find out what makes them so impactful. So we dug into some articles from Spavelous, it's this health and wellness magazine, and what we found is really interesting. Turns out there's actually a scientific reason why these getaways are so refreshing.
Absolutely. It's more than just a break from your everyday routine. In this deep dive, we're going to explore the science behind why female bonding is so powerful and how these getaways aren't just a luxury. They're basically like essential for your well-being.
Okay, now you've got me really curious. I'm all for being pampered and sipping cucumber water. But tell me more about the science behind it. What exactly did you find out?
Well, one of the articles talked about this really interesting hormone, prolactin. We usually think of it in terms of mothers bonding with their babies, those maternal instincts, but it's just as important when it comes to friendships between women.
Prolactin, huh? I'm not sure I remember what that one does.
It's like the bonding hormone,
Hmm.
right? When you spend time with close friends, especially in a relaxing and supportive environment, your prolactin levels go up. And that's great for your friendships, of course, strengthens those bonds. But here's the truly fascinating part. It also works as a natural stress reliever.
Hold on. So you're telling me that hanging out with my girlfriends actually causes a biological response that fights stress. That's amazing. No wonder I always feel so much lighter after a weekend away with my friends.
Exactly. It's like a natural chill pill,
Mhm.
basically. And not only does prolactin help decrease stress, but studies show it can also lower your cortisol levels, and that's your stress hormone.
So, double the benefits.
Yeah.
Where do I sign up? But really, though, I'm starting to see why it's so important to make time for these trips. Life gets so hectic, juggling work and family and everything else. It seems like having that dedicated time to unwind and actually reconnect with your friends is more important than we realize.
You're absolutely right. And actually, speaking of making it a priority, one article pointed out just how common these getaways are becoming these days. It said something like 24% of women have taken a girlfriend getaway in just the past 3 years. It's not like a once in a blue moon thing anymore.
Wow, 24%. So that's a pretty significant number of women who are actually prioritizing it. It makes you wonder, though, why is it still such a struggle to make these trips happen? I mean, between coordinating everyone's schedules and figuring out the budget, sometimes it feels like planning a trip to the moon.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel that way. The article actually mentioned those two things, dealing with schedules and budgets, as the biggest challenges women face when they're planning these getaways. All that pre-trip stress is definitely something we could all live without.
Okay, you've convinced me. The science is there,
Mm.
and it sounds like women are really starting to prioritize these trips. So enough about the planning headaches. Let's get to the fun stuff. What kind of spa getaways are we talking about?
Well, get ready to be overwhelmed with options because this Spavelous article is packed with ideas. We're talking everything from day spas to those luxurious resort getaways. They even had a whole section on medical spas if you're looking for something a little more, clinical.
Oh, wow. So there really is something for everyone.
Hmm.
Were there any spas in particular that caught your eye?
Absolutely. One that really stood out to me was this place called Espera Spa. It's part of the Osthoff Resort in Wisconsin. And get this, it's located right on the shores of Elkhart Lake, which has a lot of significance for Native Americans. They consider it a sacred place. And the spa actually incorporates some of those indigenous healing practices into their treatments.
Oh, wow. That sounds incredible. Like a truly immersive experience connecting with nature and history at the same time.
Exactly. And if you need a little extra convincing, they also have this amazing package called the Girlfriend's Celebration Package. It includes champagne, chocolate, spa treatments, and a cooking class.
Mm, okay, you had me at champagne. But while we're picturing ourselves at these amazing resorts, let's be real for a second. Not everyone can afford a luxury getaway every time they need a break.
Yeah.
So what about people who are on a tighter budget or have limited vacation time?
That's a really good point, and that's where those day spas can really come in handy. The article did a great job highlighting a bunch of different day spas that offer that condensed getaway experience without breaking the bank.
So you can still treat yourself to a massage, a facial, some time in the sauna, all without needing to take a week off work or spend a fortune.
Exactly. It's all about finding those little pockets of rejuvenation that you can fit into your everyday life. Even a few hours dedicated to self-care and hanging out with friends can make a huge difference, reducing stress and boosting your well-being. And remember, we've got the science to back that up now. Prolactin, right?
Yeah, good point. It's easy to forget amidst all the planning and logistics, but ultimately the goal is to relax, recharge, and really connect with each other. It shouldn't be about checking things off a list or feeling pressured to have the most luxurious experience.
Exactly. Now, before you run off and start planning your next getaway, let's talk about how to actually make it happen. The article had some really useful advice for navigating the planning stage, because let's face it, that's often the most stressful part.
You're reading my mind. We've talked about the why and even started exploring the where.
Mm-hmm.
But now we need to figure out the how. How do we turn this dream getaway into a reality without getting bogged down by those scheduling nightmares and endless group texts?
I've got you covered. The article had some really clever tips.
So, are you about to make us all girlfriend getaway planning pros?
Well, let's just say the article had some surprisingly simple but effective tips. First of all, let's talk about technology. It can be a blessing and a curse, right? Super helpful, but also a potential source of stress if you're not careful.
Oh, absolutely. So how do we make sure technology works for us, not against us when planning these trips?
It's all about centralization. Instead of having information scattered across a million different text messages and emails, create one central hub for everything. A shared document or a spreadsheet where everyone can see everyone else's availability, any dietary restrictions, activity ideas. That way you're not scrolling through hundreds of messages trying to remember who wanted a gluten-free option or who had their heart set on visiting that bookstore.
That's such a good idea, having a master plan that everyone can contribute to. I can already see how much easier that would make things.
Right, and along those same lines, don't underestimate the power of scheduling apps. Trying to find a time that works for everyone, especially across different time zones, can be a nightmare. But those apps can really streamline the process and take away so much of the headache.
Scheduling apps are lifesavers. Okay, but what about the other big planning hurdle? Finances. It can be awkward to talk about money, especially if everyone has different budgets.
You're right, it can be a sensitive subject. But honestly, I think the best approach is just being open and transparent from the beginning. Before you even start looking at spa brochures, have a conversation about the overall budget. Find out what everyone's comfortable spending, if there is any hard limits. That way you can choose a destination and activities that work for everyone financially.
So it's all about finding that balance,
Mm.
right? Creating an amazing and memorable experience while also being mindful of everyone's financial boundaries.
Exactly. And if there are some bigger differences in the group, you can get creative and mix higher-end activities with more budget-friendly options. Maybe one day you splurge on a fancy spa treatment, and the next day you go for a hike and a picnic. The important thing is that everyone feels included and has a good time.
It occurs to me that planning a girlfriend getaway is kind of like a microcosm of friendship in general. It requires good communication, a willingness to compromise, and that shared vision of having fun and relaxing together.
I love that. And that's what makes these getaways so special. They're not just about taking a break from your routine, they're about celebrating those friendships and nurturing those really important connections in your life.
I couldn't agree more. And after diving deep into this topic, I am so ready to plan my next escape. How about you?
Oh, I'm already there. Pass
Yeah.
the cucumber water.
And on that note, we'll leave you with this final thought. What if, instead of waiting for a special occasion, we made these getaways a regular part of our self-care routines? Something to think about as you gather your friends, brainstorm some dream destinations, and embrace the power of female friendship. Until next time, happy planning.